Dear Mr. Abdallah, welcome on stage. We're so happy to have you with us today. Maybe a first question. Did you have the occasion to enjoy the conference today? Some of the program?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. I'm very honored for the invitation. Definitely, it is a new experience, but really I'm enjoying this environment.
All right, interesting. Here in Europe, energy is what you get from the power outlet. For most people, they don't think about it. We're not fully aware of it. You only must enter the plug, let's say. That's pretty much our relationship with energy. On top of that, you have to pay your bills. But yeah, that's about it. We can imagine that this is often radically different. We can imagine that it is often radically different in Africa in many regions. Can you draw a picture of how a lot of Africans relate to energy on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, thank you very much. I think this is a very important question. And of course, Africa is very rich with all resources. We have 60% of the best solar energy sources. We have a huge potential of wind energy. We have hydro. We only use 10 or 15% of our resources. We have traditional fuel, oil, and gas. But despite these resources we have, is still 600 million African without access to the electricity. And 1 million African without access to clean cooking facility and fuels. And those 1 million, they only use charcoal and firewood and the other traditional fuel. And I think this is a big challenge for us, how to transform these resources to the reality. Of course, there are many challenges, but definitely we are going in the right direction.
Yeah. So if I imagine the reality of that, it means that hundred millions of people cook in a different way than we do, don't have a fridge, or don't have all these luxuries that we have.
Yeah, definitely. This is create a lot of challenge in our side. We are aware about that. Like this issue of clean cooking in Africa creates some economic problem, climate problem, and also health problem. Due to the indoor pollutions, 600,000 women and children die every year because of indoor pollutions. Economic-wise, each woman that collecting this firewood, they spend about 3 to 5 hours to collect that firewood. And climate issue is also, we are cutting trees. And this creates a lot of desertifications, a lot of climate problem.
So for cooking, for many people, the day-to-day reality is chopping woods, making indoor stoves, heating indoor stoves, and that causes health problems for many people. Now, when we zoom out from the day-to-day reality to the big picture, in Europe, we all talk about energy transition. We have to make a fast transition to renewables, to be autonomous, let's say. When it comes to the future of energy in Africa, yeah, the context is so different, and maybe the challenges are also different. Can you explain how exactly we must think in different ways?
So if we need to know exactly how we define energy transition, let us compare Africa and Europe. Now, with this context, I tell you that 600 million without access to electricity, 1 billion without access to the clean cooking. So for us, our definition to the energy transition is to move from no energy to the energy. We need to make sure all our African people, they have a reliable supply for electricity and clean fuel for cooking. But Europe, their context is different. I think Europe, their energy transition, how to move from fossil fuel, which creates CO2 emission, to, to renewable energy. And we feel that for Africa, we are only responsible for 3 to 4% of CO2 emission. And if you remove the major economy in Africa, being Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, Nigeria, and South Africa, the whole rest of Africa remain with less than 1% of CO2 emission. For me, I believe Africa is already in zero emission. So our approach is different from Europe. Our perception about energy is different for Europe. CO2 emission for us is not an issue at all. Our issue, it is how we have a reliable supply for energy. And for this, we need to use our own resources, solar, wind, natural gas, whatever, traditional fuel and renewable energy. And especially, I need to stress on this natural gas. For the last 10 years, 40% of the new discovery of natural gas in Africa. So in Senegal, in Tanzania, in Mozambique, in South Africa, in Mauritania. So we need to use that natural resources to meet the huge demand of the energy in the continent. And the presentation before me show you how population in Africa is dynamic, how the population, they need innovation, they need to embrace the technology, they need development. 6 out of 10 of the fast economy in the last year, it is African. And we cannot keep this prosperity and economic development without energy. Yeah. So for us, our path for energy transition is different. Our definition or energy transition is different. And I think this complete different story.
Yeah, I see. And these gas reserves are framed and considered as transition fuels?
Fuel, yes.
And when you say CO2, it's not an issue in Africa. Can you elaborate on this? I mean, will this also be not an issue in the upcoming decades?
No, just look at the figures. Europe with 740 million today population, responsible for 14 or 15% of CO2 emission. Yeah. Africa with 1.4 billion, almost double, responsible of 4 to 3% of CO2 emission. And as I told you, if you remove the major economy, I think we are in less than 1%. So using natural gas as a transition fuel, we don't believe that whatever we do, we will create a problem. Still, we are in the limit. And of course, we are committed for climate change effort. All African countries signed their Paris Agreement. Mm-hmm. All African countries, they already identify the NDC commitment. For that reason, we feel it's the right track, but in the same time, we feel we need to fill the gap of the energy poverty in Africa. Yeah. And then by calculation, and we're taking this natural gas as a transition fuel, which is less emission, I think we will be in right track.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for stretching our awareness and drawing the big picture on this. When it comes to energy technologies, or technology in general, people often refer to leapfrogging. Also in the presentation of Katrien and Toon, the idea that you simply skip a technology is the idea behind leapfrogging. And for many Africans, the cell phone was their first phone, and even their first bank, and even their first wallet. To what extent is there a potential for leapfrogging when it comes to renewables in Africa?
Actually, for leapfrogging, I think all the information tell us that leapfrogging in Africa is possible, and it is must. Mm-hmm. Possible because advancing in the technology and the innovation show us that The solution is available in affordable price. So it's just a matter how we can take that technology and implement it in Africa. It is a must because we have a continent that 40% of the population without access to the electricity. And this they have a severe impact, not only in terms of the energy supply, but job creation. We have young population, they need decent job. In terms of economic prosperity, in terms of education, in terms of health, all this range of the service that the population need, we need to have that leapfrogging. And I think for me, leapfrogging is a possible, and it is a must. And when you join this leapfrogging for resource we have, I think we can make sure that Africa they have the energy that they deserve.
Okay. In the preparation for this interview, I saw that you consider skill development as a very important element in your energy strategy, and that resonated hard with me. That resonated with me. Can you explain what you mean with skill developments in relation to energy?
Okay, I think one of the main problem in Africa, of course, we have so many challenges, but one of the challenge it is the skills, and in terms of the human capacity, and also in terms of the institution capacity. So we are working very hard in AFREC on this skill development. We do some skill assessment in all African countries. We identify 150 areas that people need. And we are working on that capacity building in very comprehensive manner. But I feel that this skill development, especially in the time of the energy transition, we need to build skills for tomorrow. Tomorrow, the skills that we have it now, it is not necessary that the skills that we needed tomorrow. Our technology will be different. Our energy supply will be different. Our institutions that provide this energy, it will be different. For that reason, new skills is needed, new expertise is needed, new knowledge is needed. And not only that, even the institution. Now, the utility, the electricity supply system will be changed so that utility will change. The governance of this utility is changed. For that reason, I think when you look at the holistic approach, we need to build a skill for tomorrow in terms of the human capacity and in terms of the institution capacity. We need to prepare ourselves for the future. And I think this is the reason that we consider this skill development, it is very important. Sharing knowledge is very important. Knowledge transfer, as me in Europe, I think knowledge transfer is also very important. Manufacturing renewable energy technology in Africa, it is very important.
Yeah, okay. Already practicing and teaching 21st century skill. I think we in Europe can also do this in our education system, I guess. Can you share some lighting and hopeful examples that show us the way today what energy in Africa can be tomorrow? We saw so many beautiful, bright examples in the previous presentation. What are the examples that resonate with you the most?
Yeah, despite this challenge that I face, 600 million without access to the electricity, 1 million, but still Africa is progressing. The biggest PV power plant in the world in Africa, it is in Egypt, 180 megawatts. The biggest single concentrated solar power plant in the world in Morocco, it is 510 megawatts. We are seeing very advanced or comprehensive development for geothermal in East Africa. Now, Kenya, it is ranked as number 6 country in using geothermal, and I think by end of this year or coming year, they will move up to the rank. The natural gas in Africa also open door for for a lot of investment, which we feel that they contribute filling up of the energy access also in Africa. So in total, yes, we have a problem, but we are progressing. And for this progress, we need partnership. We don't need donor anymore. We need innovative partnerships that can bring investment, they can bring knowledge, they can bring expertise, they can build together some prosperous Africa and prosperous neighbors, Europe and beyond.
Yeah. Because of the scale of the challenge, I feel that you like projects that have a big scaling potential. When it comes to thinking big, I remember from the very first Love Tomorrow conference, there was Arash Azami who advocated for the access to safe and clean energy as some sort of fundamental rights. Yeah, he elaborated on the idea that one day it should be a fundamental right for everyone to have access to safe and clean energy. I know it's a big dream. It's a bold thinking. How do you think about that? Do you see it possible within the reach of 1, 2, 3 generations?
Yes, for us, we believe that is possible. You know, if you have resources, you have people, you have investment. Yeah, it is possible. Of course, as I mentioned, we have a lot of challenge. One of the challenge that the investment in the energy sectors. Now, according to the statistic, the Africa energy only attracts 3% of the global investment. And I think this, for different reasons and different challenges that we face, but we are working on that. And I think, first of all, this not only depend on Africa, but actually we are calling in Africa to have just global financial structure. Africa today, when it comes to cost of finance, we pay 3 times more than European country pay for renewable energy.
Wow.
So we need to have that just financing mechanism that treat Africa fair, and we have affordable price for cost of investment.
And that allows to scale and accelerate at the right pace. I see.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Abdallah, what would be your advice for young people who have the ambition to co-innovate on the future of Africa? What would be your advice for people who want to stay in the shoes of Katrien van Hooijdonk and Toon Driessen in terms of attitudes or skills?
For young generation, I think, first of all, for me personally, whatever I do in the energy sectors, I feel that this is my personal contribution on the global effort on climate change. And I think everyone who work on the energy, if he take his mission and his job as his personal contribution for the global effort, I think he will have a courage to do more. But if you ask me to advise young people, I think I can advise in several words. Be realistic. Put realistic goals. I'm sure when I start my career 20 years back, I don't imagine that I will speak you as the executive director of African Energy Commission. So put goals and achieve it, and then move to another goal. This is number one. Number two, be ambitious about the impact that you need to do. So always do your best to have positive impact around the people around you. And the third one, be patient. Okay. Nothing will happen overnight. So you cannot graduate and then look at Elon Musk. Yeah. Elon Musk is not come. So you need to be patient and do your job. You will reach. The fourth one, be persistent. Life is difficult. Work is difficult. Just whatever the problem you face, just go on and go on. I'm sure you will reach.
So dedication and patience, we also need patience right here in Belgium. So that's something that we are familiar with. Maybe, yeah, one more thing, Mr. Abdallah, for the next weeks, let's say, what is it that you're working on? Can you share it with us?
Okay, actually, I can talk about AFREC. I think in AFREC we are a very small institution, but we are a very dynamic institution. I think in terms of the energy transition, we are supporting now 5 countries to do decarbonization paths. And the coming week, I will have a meeting with this selected country as an introduction meeting for them. And as I say, we always feel that energy transition narrative as an African narrative is different from the global narrative. And we need to help our member state to develop their own energy transition path so that it is not according to the available resources and available investments they have. We are also working on the capacity building. I think the coming months we are preparing for training course for high official from Ministry of Energy in Africa about renewable energy planning, financing, and implementation. We are also I have a team working on energy statistics. We are collecting energy statistics for all African member states. We validate it and we disseminate it. By this effort, we need to tell the real story about Africa. Not Africa that people see it in the TV, disaster and flood, but there are some progress is going to happen. So I think this part of the activity that we are doing.
Okay. Mr. Abdallah, I would like to thank you for your contribution, your generosity, and sharing, coming here to share your vision with us. I remember that investing in 21st century skills is something that you do, but that we also can learn from Africa. And I guess our vision of the African continent will never be the same. So thank for you, but also thank you very much for being here and hope to see you next year. Thank you.